Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Rainbow Crossing Podcast, a podcast where Gen X and Gen Z discuss life's challenges and how we face them as queer people. We have these open conversations to foster a sense of community through different perspectives. My name is Julio Guzman, and with me is my lovely roommate, Daniel.
That's me, yeah.
Confetti cannons. I always imagine a drag race when the pit stop, when they introduce the guests, and there's confetti cannons popping off on you.
Oh,
that's what pops up in my head.
I love that. I love that.
So maybe you could edit that in, just so it can make it easier, right?
Yeah, that'll make it
give into
easier.
The fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. You look very sporty today.
Thanks. I've been very physically active today, so might as well be comfy and on the go. And It's also hot AF outside, so
warm.
I am dressing for the weather.
Yeah.
And you look so demure.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm like business on the top and then fun
bottom on the bottom. Oh,
that's how we do.
It's the crazy socks, you know?
Yeah.
Might as well put your legs up in the air. Just give the crowd a good view right there.
Not again. It's not that kind of video. Yeah, last night I went for a walk around Lady Bird Lake, which for those who aren't familiar with Austin, there is a 10-mile trail that runs around our lake, which is just south of downtown. And it's a great trail.
Beautiful trail.
And I've been wanting to go out for a while. Went at 8 p.m. just
in time for the cruising.
No, it was just in time for the sun to be down. I was still sweating and just a normal walk. It wasn't anything crazy.
It is a swamp out there in the air.
Yeah.
The swamp is in the air here in Austin, Texas. It's not just there in a puddle. You walk outside and you'll start dripping sweat instantly.
And it's barely June. We got months of this left.
I try not to think about it. And I'm going to blink and then June's going to be over with. And then we'll hopefully be in winter.
I'm just trying to blink and get to 2029.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what... I can't even look past 2025 at the moment. To see to 2029 right now sounds unrealistic, but I don't know. It's obviously there's good things coming, but so we think, because this man's crazy. How do we know that 2029 will be the end? We don't know.
Who knows? Every week is 6 months worth of insanity.
Yeah.
These days.
It's just ridiculous. But also, what kind of simulation is this? When do we get to be in control of what actually happens?
It's a shame that our government and leadership has so much control over what happens around the world. When something happens here, it affects most countries around the world, because otherwise it would be pretty humorous to watch, actually. From other countries, I'm sure they're tuning in.
They probably think it's an SNL episode and it's live news from America.
Right. What? Well, when you elect a reality TV star as president, you get a reality TV show as your government, and that's what we're in right now. And if we were just sitting at home and watching this, it would be fascinating.
Yeah, but living it's a whole different story.
Yeah.
I'm a very optimistic person, but it's kind of hard to see the light when it's just nothing but negativity.
Yeah.
Where do we source the light from if it's not being amplified on the outside? Which today's episode isn't about what's on the outside.
Right.
It's about what's on the inside.
Yeah.
Specifically men. And God, we know there's a lot going upstairs for possibly every man that you possibly know. But today, and specifically June, is Men's Mental Health Awareness.
Right.
So shout out to the men out there. I don't know if it's much of a shout out. Yeah, it's more like a meh, hey, we should be doing better. But that's what this is for.
Yeah.
It's to do better. And trust me,
right.
I'm a man myself. So I know there's a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of problems going on upstairs for a lot of us. And I'll admit mine. We'll talk about them here in a bit. And I feel like who better than to talk about empathy and actually what happens upstairs than gay men who are probably more in tune with their emotions. But don't get me wrong, could be a little bit more chaotic if you aren't in grasps of those emotions. But yeah, let's talk about mental health in men. Specifically, we'll start with us.
How long are we going to run this podcast for?
I don't know. It's a long journey. It's a lot to unpack, but we'll make it pretty precise in the direction that we're going. We can also honestly just start off by like maybe our personal mental health issues, which I know you have a lot. I'll let you go first because that list is probably longer.
We're not listing all of them, I hope. Oh, mental health issues. I don't know. I feel like everyone, male, female, gay, straight, I feel like we all have certain mental health issues because we are brought into this world and a lot of things are taken care of for us. And then we have to face the reality of adulthood, some younger than others. And we're not necessarily mentally equipped to handle all of these things. So there is a burden that is laid upon us by just life itself. Mm-hmm. And we have to learn how to adapt to these things. Some of us learn faster than others, and some of us have better coping skills than others. It is a challenge for many of us, and I am certainly no exception of that. And as we're talking about men's mental health, obviously we have a very specific take on it because we are gay. And I feel like oftentimes gay men are saddled with a few extra things that straight men maybe don't have to go through.
Yes.
So for me, depression was just a really big thing at a relatively young age. So I knew I was gay at around 12 years old, which is also when we are starting to experience hormonal changes. So you've got this concern of realizing that you aren't necessarily who you thought you were going to be, who you were being raised to be. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the hormones on top of it. So you've got all of these feelings. And in my case, you've got a religious aspect involved as well. And depression was just the natural next step to all of this because I didn't know how to deal with any of this. I didn't have an outlet to talk about this at that young of an age. The internet really wasn't even around yet. So I didn't even have online access to any of that. I'm very grateful that I was just able to somehow muddle my way through. But depression for me was hardcore for a long time.
Yeah, I feel like that's very common within a lot of men, especially since we are normally in society that you're taught to not express your emotions or be very expressive as a man. So like, I feel like at any point, any man has experienced that. I mean, now there's more parents that are becoming more open to like having their sons be more expressive with their emotions and the things that they're into. But specifically, up until this point, we've had very much, this is how a man should be. This is what you should be doing. This is how you should be acting. You shouldn't be overreacting. You should be controlling your emotions and not letting people know that you're being upset.
Right.
Which can lead to so many horrible things. But I want to ask you, is there anything in your adult life currently that I feel like you're pretty set? Like there's not much that can affect you mentally. I feel like you handle your emotions pretty well. When situations happen, you adjust and you react, and then you also just approach it in the way that you need to. Yeah. So I don't feel like there might be much. I'm sure more stress will come into play, but stress comes into everyone's life.
Right.
But I haven't noticed anything for you in your adult life unless there's something you're hiding from me.
No, I don't think I hide too much from you, nor am I the kind of person that is really going to hide much anyway. Yeah. I'm a pretty open book about things. For sure. I don't think we'd be doing this if we weren't both open books.
1,000%.
You know, it comes with age, I think, a lot of times, if we're lucky enough, that I have found a certain strength and peace in my life. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in order to build yourself up, oftentimes you have to be knocked down like pretty hard. And then as you're climbing your way back up to mental and emotional stability, you find a peace and a strength that comes along with it. And you start to realize that what is important in life and what isn't so important in life, what is going to affect you in the long term versus this immediate annoyance, aggravation. And you start to put your emphasis on the bigger things, and those little things now just roll off my back. Yeah. So I definitely have come to realize that the little things, they really don't matter. So they don't really affect me much anymore, occasionally, of course. And even the big things, you know, earlier this year, we had foundation work done on the house, and it was costly. It was very costly.
Oh, yeah.
And it caused a lot of disruption in the yard, which we're still dealing with. Mm-hmm. Things are settled now. But I didn't really let it bother me. Like, I didn't have that money to spend, honestly. But I figured it out. And I knew it was all going to be fine because I've lost a lot in my life and everything was still fine. So, unfortunately, sometimes you just have to go through a lot of suffering in order to realize that if you made it through that, you can really make it through anything. So, yeah, I don't really have a lot of mental health issues.
Well,
Don't ask
I
any
knew
friends.
you were gonna say that, so I actually wrote a list for you.
Oh,
I'm joking. I did not write a list for you.
no, of course I still deal with sadness.
For
And,
sure.
you know, if I were to go through a breakup or through a loss, some kind of disappointment, of course I'm gonna be sad and maybe minorly depressed, but it does not last long anymore.
That's good.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Thankfully, for sure. I mean, I'm the same way when something happens. I don't let negative things hold on to me too long.
Yeah.
Usually I let it a day, whether it's sadness, anger, whatever it is, I express it, I feel it. And there's different ways that I handle all that. But growing up, my mental health was all over the place.
Yeah.
One, I also grew up religious. I didn't have any male role model to look up to or anything. Right. So I was kind of figuring out everything on my own. I was also in a place where my family was constantly going to church, and my family was very religious. So they're trying to push all these ideologies on us. And I am, one, feeling these things, obviously being gay, and not fitting like I fit anywhere within my own family, but also I was just the biggest people pleaser because I felt like everyone hated me because I was a pretty attention-seeking little boy who would get into a lot of trouble, who would always do the things that he wasn't supposed to be doing. But I didn't know how to just be normal because I didn't know what normal was. So I would act out in any way possible to be noticed. I mean, I was leaving my house up until like in third grade. I was on the streets, not like crazy on the streets, but like out with my friends, getting into, like trouble, basically, being out in the middle of the night till like 11, 12, maybe even later as in third grade with some friends and their older brothers. Like we would be out on the streets doing some crazy things.
9 years old?
Yeah, it was Hillsborough. What else is there to do? There's nothing to do in that town. So I was getting in some pretty bad trouble as a young kid, at least during the free time. When I was at school, I was a great kid, but at school, I felt like I had more freedom. There was a lot of different things that you can involve yourself in. So like, I felt like I was truly able to express myself by doing so much, but also not having to think about who I really am inside is why I enjoyed school so much. Because at home, I would be reminded of who I was, and it would be one, a gay guy who it's not okay to be gay, or at least acceptable at the time in my household, or like things weren't talked about. It was looked upon differently, whatever. Yeah. And same thing at church. Every time I would go to service, I would go to church every Wednesday. I would hear the pastor talk about how being gay is a sin and you're going to go to hell. And I'm like, I feel like I'm not doing anything wrong. So everything I was hearing about myself was just not acceptable. So at this point, I'm just hating myself completely. And I turned 15 and I was having a lot of anger issues. And when I came out to my mom, that definitely cleared up some of the anger and the pain. But even then, I was still trying to figure out who I was as a man. Mm-hmm. Because I still, up until that point, didn't have a male figure. And I honestly didn't have a male figure in my life until you actually came into the picture, which was I was 19 at that point, 19, 20. So it's just crazy that I went that whole time figuring things out on my own with no guidance from a male, and also still trying to find what makes me me, while also figuring out what it is to be a quote unquote man to my family, to the people
and a gay
around
person.
me, and a gay person. So there was just a lot of different feelings going on in my mind, and I definitely, once I turned 18, would go party, and I'm like, I can do whatever I want. And I, up until 18, at least that first year, I kind of felt like I was unstoppable. I mean, as most kids who get to experience the world for the first time feel when they just get that touch of freedom. And I was going to party, sleeping with whoever I wanted, honestly doing drugs and drinking a lot and doing all these things to, one, hopefully find myself.
Opening up your mind, your heart, your emotions is such a hard thing for men to do. And there's no right or wrong way necessarily to go about doing that. So if you can find a way to unlock that to a degree, it will benefit you in the long run for sure. But before we start talking about like the tools about how we can go about like finding better mental health, so we've talked about what some of the things that you and I have gone through, but there are a lot of other issues that our audience, that the gay community, men in general, have gone through.
I've experienced at least like half of these that you're about to name.
Yeah. Same. So like number one on the list, like obviously we talked about depression. And part of what led to at least my depression was just feeling a sense of loneliness. Mm-hmm. And when you're gay, particularly, you can feel very lonely at a younger age because you feel so isolated. You don't necessarily know if you can turn to your family, or maybe you know that you can't turn to your family. And especially if you're in a small town, conservative town, you may not know another gay person around you. Fortunately, kids today do have online communities. They do have the internet. It's one of the reasons that we do this podcast, is so that people can feel a sense of community, even if they don't necessarily have that physically around them. But it is still today a big thing. And we know that loneliness is an epidemic in the straight male community as well. Like for us as gay kids, we often feel lonely. But many of us, you and I are very fortunate in this way, many of us find a chosen family as we get older. So that feeling of loneliness tends to decline for a lot of us. But for straight men, like they're out there lost, so many of them right now, and it shows.
Yeah.
It shows for sure. And as much as we talk about women's mental health issues, women's emotional health issues, the only reason we know about them is because women are open about them.
They'll talk about
they're
it.
talking about them.
They're doing things we aren't.
They're putting in the work to move past whatever issues they have. But take, for example, another issue, body dysmorphia. Like we often think about women being very concerned about their bodies and their looks and everything. But I think that men are just as concerned about that for the most part, especially gay men.
Oh, for sure.
And we just tend to not talk about it because it's seen as more of a taboo issue. Like, oh, why are you concerned about your body? Like that's such a superficial thing, but it's very real. And because men ourselves, we are very physically oriented. So particularly in the gay community, like many of us are looking for someone who fits a certain physique.
Yeah.
And of course, we all want to be partnered with or connect with people who are physically attractive to us. Of course, that is a component of like finding a relationship, is some kind of physical attraction. And some, it's more important than to others, but some carry it to an extreme and they just become obsessive about it. And of course, in this day and age with social media being so prevalent, we just talked about how social media can be a positive for gay people, but it can also be a really negative thing as well, because all we see oftentimes are these perfect 10 bodies.
I mean, I had huge body dysmorphia between the age of like 18. I actually didn't think I had a problem with my body up until I actually entered the gay community. Like I always knew like I was very insecure about being short up until like my senior year of high school. Then I really didn't care. I'm like, this is literally my height. Like, what's the point? But like for a long time, like obviously I got picked on for being really short. Like that was the thing that I was noticeable for. Like every guy, I would just be smaller than them. I would be one of the smallest kids in the freaking class. Yeah. But it was when I turned 18 and actually got into like gay culture and like experienced gay life where I was like, I'm never going to get a boyfriend. I was like, I'm short, I'm skinny, I'm twinky. Like everyone who I see going for whoever is just this muscular person. I was like, I don't look like that. I was like, I'm bones basically at this point. Like
you were skinny.
And there would be moments where I would be talking to some of my friends on the phone that were older than me, and they were like kind of like guiding me through like gay culture and stuff. But I would be crying to them. Like I would get my heart broken by a guy, and I'm like, what is it? Is it because I'm not taller or more muscular or whatever? And all those things honestly generated from Instagram and like seeing people and seeing all these gay couples and all that, and me going to music festivals and seeing all the gay couples there. And I'm like, okay, like I'm just not that. I tried to be, and I kept working and pushing to try to be that. But then once I got to the age of like 21, I really took like a big break from Instagram. And after that, I was like, I really don't care what I look like at this point. Now I'm just working out. And as long as I'm being physically active, obviously I want to look a certain way and I will push to look a certain way. But as long as I'm moving and actually like putting an effort towards my physical health, then I'm good.
Right. How
I look is how I'm going to look,
Yeah, it is a serious challenge that many of us face, especially at a younger age when we feel the most vulnerable and we're probably the most hungry for love at that age as well. So it's a tough time. Like people talk about at my age revisiting their youth. You couldn't pay me to go back to my 20s, my early to mid 20s. No, thank you. Like those were really, really hard times. And it takes a lot to work past all of that. But honestly, yeah, it hurts when you're rejected because you don't have the perfect 10 body. But if someone's rejecting you for that, then you're better off without them, honestly.
1,000%.
Some of these issues can coalesce into an even bigger issue that I think we see present in the gay community, but men in general. Again, we're talking about Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And that's substance use and abuse, particularly. And it's really easy to turn to drugs and alcohol to help us feel a little better, to reduce social anxiety, to reduce depression.
You know what? I haven't looked this up, but I bet you if we were to look up who has more substance abuse problems, men or women, it would probably be men.
Oh, I'm certain it is.
I mean, they're like the OG alcoholics. Like,
yeah. We have such a hard time with these emotions that are inside of us and we don't know how to handle them. So we utilize whatever tools we have available to us to tamper them down. And drugs and alcohol, those are both easily accessible to people. And it's something that we see other people utilizing and we think it's a fix, but it's just a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. So it's not going to fix anything. And so we're just going to use more and more and more.
Yeah.
And it becomes a real problem. And we see it more readily in the gay community, but it's out there.
For
straight and gay men.
I mean, yeah, only speaking from my experience, when I was partying a lot and doing drugs and drinking, I wasn't doing it, I feel like, to replace something, or I think I was doing it more to just heighten my experience of what I was doing at the moment. Most of the time, actually like 95% of the time, it was all at music festivals and like parties. But I would definitely see other people who don't have that much of a grip as well as I did, and they would do it to escape, and they would just keep doing it over and over again. And like, oh, taking a bump.
Yeah.
5 minutes later, doing another bump.
Right.
15 minutes later, doing another bump. I'm like, you just took 3 bumps in a span of 20 minutes. Are you okay? Like, what's happening
Probably
here?
not.
Like, I'm confused. And I've seen, and drugs are a very dangerous thing. There's benefits to a lot of things, but there's also negative things to a lot of things as well. But it can be crazy when you aren't in the right headspace. That fun moment can turn into a very dark, twisted night and could possibly end your night as well. End your life.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good grip on your mental health while partaking in party favors.
Yes. They are going to amplify a lot of things that are underneath the surface.
For sure.
So it may provide a distraction initially, but a lot of times it's going to bring up things that you did not want to bring up. So for better or for worse there, for sure.
The only reason I really stopped all of that was, one, because I got to a certain age where I was like, okay, none of these things are going to help me long term. And also I've seen this negatively impact a lot of people that I know that are close to me. And number 3, I want to show people that you can still be in the vibe, in the scene, and not partake in those things and still have a good time. Like, it is possible. We don't see it enough, but it is possible. And I wanted to hopefully show the people around me, like, hey, you could do it as well. You don't have to party nonstop to have a good time. And slowly but surely, the people around me have
absolutely
taken notice and have simmered down. And I'm like, lovely. And we still have fun. We still have our good moments. But definitely, it's nice to see that energy reflect, and it's possible to have that in any scenario that you're in. So if you're listening to this, you can create that same vibe for the people around you.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, happiness, whether it's in a group setting or solo, it all stems from within. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to create happiness from artificial substances. You're
At
not,
all.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. Another issue that I think you'll agree with me with on this for the gay community, but again, men in general, and that is just like a hypersexualization. And I think more so for the gay community than straight men is tying self-worth into some of that. We have these phones and we have all the apps, and it's really easy for many of us. I know some don't feel this way, but it's really easy for many of us to find a hookup, to find sex at any given moment of almost any given time of day. And I'm not dissing that at all, but it's when we put all of the emphasis in that in our self-worth and especially our happiness revolves around sex and that immediate satisfaction, which is a lot of fun.
For sure.
But why are you doing it? I guess is my biggest question.
Yeah. I mean, out of all the ones that we're naming, this is probably the one that has hit close to home in my adult life. Just because I was super hypersexual when I got out of high school, like 18. Once I entered the gay world, I was like, one, I was trying to wait for marriage. That quickly changed once I became my own adult. Very quickly.
Yeah.
But I got to the point where I was like, one, seeking attention and thinking that I would be loved by throwing myself on these men. And I thought the more I would sleep with them, the more I would have sex with whoever, the more I would be desired and the more I would be enjoyed.
Yeah.
And all of that is false. If anything, it left me more stranded and alone and empty and seeking validation from people who I don't need to be seeking validation from because, one, they don't know me and I'm throwing myself on them to hopefully get them to like me. And they'll enjoy it and we'd have a good moment, but it would never go anywhere. And then I'm back to square one, doing it over and over and over again. And it's exhausting, but it came from my mind frame with the dad that I do have who wasn't in my life. Every time I would engage with him, he's a big man whore. He's a player, has so many different kids. And every time we would talk on the phone, that was very rare. He'd be like, how many girlfriends do you have? It's always the same goddamn question. But in my mind, that's the energy that I would have. That's what I knew growing up as a young man. Like, oh, the only way to get people is to get a lot of people and be with a lot of people. And that way you're never alone. But it left me feeling more alone because I wanted something real. I've been wanting something real. So, like, it just left me more empty-handed and sad and a young gay man who just was more depressed because of it, thinking something good would come out of me throwing myself on everybody.
Yeah.
And it never did.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head with that, saying you were seeking something real. And I think a lot of these mental health problems just stem from that. Like, we're looking for something real, and we don't necessarily understand, especially at a younger age, that ultimately we have to give that to ourselves.
For sure. And it's not going to come from sex. Like,
No.
that's not what's going to make you feel
No.
real at all.
No, and it's not even going to come from a relationship. Like, I've been in a long relationship, and I never had that level of self-worth, that level of self-love that I needed to ultimately feel happy, to feel complete. The relationship isn't going to make you feel complete. Like, we talk a lot of times about finding our other half. Like, we need to be a whole person when we go into a relationship, or that relationship will eventually end.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these things that we're talking about here, a lot of them just stem from looking for something real and not understanding we have to do it for ourselves first and foremost. Because there's nothing wrong with having a healthy, active sex life at all. But if you're doing it to have other people fill your bucket up, so to speak, it's just never going to work that way. So,
yeah, you really just got to find the source of where and what is affecting your mental health the most and try to find the right tools to get through them.
Yeah. And there are a lot of tools, and all the tools aren't necessarily going to work for every single person. So, you know, do your research, talk to, if you need to talk to a mental health professional, talk to your friends, to the people who really care about you, And there are a lot of things that you can do. I mean, therapy is
Yeah.
one of the first and foremost ones. Unfortunately, we can't all afford therapy, but at a minimum, find a good friend, an older friend perhaps, who's gone through some of these things before. Like I've gone through big breakups before, so I often feel like I'm the person people in our friend group turn to when they're facing a breakup, and I'm happy to listen and not that I'm really providing any guidance necessarily, but I am an example of you can get through this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel here.
Yeah.
And I was the person who thought there was no light at the end of the tunnel when I went through my big breakup. And I only got through it because I had friends who were standing by me every step of the way. So therapy, friends, and when I say friends, I mean for our gay community, I mean like your chosen family. Like oftentimes, as at a younger age, we haven't necessarily formed that chosen family yet. But if you're holding back for some reason, like invest in that. Like obviously, in order for someone to be a friend, you have to be a friend to them.
I totally agree. I personally like to also, when you don't have the right resources to reach out to somebody, you can always talk to yourself. Like I sometimes when I first started doing this, I felt crazy. One, because I always talk to myself in my mind, but talking to myself out loud really started to change my perspective the more and more I did it.
Yeah.
Specifically looking at the mirror, as stupid as it sounds, like I gave myself a lot of the reassurance I needed when I couldn't get it from anyone else. So I would literally have to look at myself in the mirror. Even at times where I'm like crying, angry, upset, whatever, I would look at myself looking all hideous in the mirror and be like, one, you can feel these things, but also you're still loved and you have a lot of love to give. And I started telling myself nice things. And sometimes it made me cry a little bit more, but sometimes it also gave me the things that I needed in regards to just letting out more emotion that I didn't even know I had inside of me. And also hearing those nice things, even coming out from my mouth, telling myself these things. It's very rare when you tell yourself nice things. Like you're not just congratulating yourself all the time and like talking to yourself nicely. Like at least not in my mind. In my mind, actually, it's talking a lot of shit about myself in regards to like how I can do better, because I am very nitpicky about myself and I am very like trying to be the best version of myself. And I know there's a lot that I still need to work on, but I'm super hypercritical about myself. And sometimes that can be worse. And you really just need to be kind to yourself and tell yourself nice things, because you're honestly probably doing a lot better than you think.
We are all our own biggest critics, 100%. And I think, again, a lot of this stems from the fact that we just have not found the love for ourselves that we need to.
Yeah.
So what you're saying about talking in the mirror, for me as a younger person, just like looking myself in the mirror, I just had a lack of self-love, is a self-hatred perhaps even. When I looked in that, I couldn't look in the mirror. So you start however you can do it. Like a lot of people journal. Like that's a very common therapy technique that a lot of people use. So journaling, talking to yourself. We have a friend who he'll put earbuds in his ears and like go for a walk, and he'll have a conversation with himself and build himself up. But he has his earbuds in as if he's on the phone, so he doesn't look like a complete crazy person, but it does the trick.
Yeah,
And then graduate to the mirror. Put positive affirmations on sticky notes and put it on the mirror. Like, do whatever you got to do to build yourself up, because the only way that we are going to see ourselves in a better light is to tell ourselves that we are worthy of our own love, first and foremost, and then other people's love as well. Self-love is the starting point for everything here. Like, eliminating so many of these issues, the starting point is self-love. And we just, many of us just haven't figured that out.
I agree. And sometimes when your mind is running wild, like you said, say it out loud, but also writing it down completely word for what you want to say helps you organize your thoughts and really gives you the bigger picture of where your mind is at. Because sometimes when you say it, especially me, when I say something, I could think about 2 minutes after that and I'm like, wait, what was I just talking about? Maybe because I'm high. But definitely when you journal it and you write it down, you see your train of thought the whole way through, and you can kind of see how you're talking to yourself. And if you are struggling to just think of what to say, only do it on a moment when you feel like you have so much going on and anxiety that you just can't get your mind in order. Even if it's just stress, anger, whatever. If your life is being taken over by work,
and you just feel stressed and you're just annoyed by every little thing, write about all those things that you're annoyed. Write about all those things that are irking you. And then you can really see where your train of thought is. And then you got to counteract that with something positive. And then you got to feed that positivity to yourself again.
Improving your mental health requires some kind of action. And physical fitness can be a part of that as well. And I don't mean like improving your body aesthetics, but I mean just like getting active, because it is a fact that when you are physically active, like you got endorphins running in your brain.
Oh.
It's going to make you feel better physically, mentally, emotionally. Like check. Like physical fitness is one of the best things to do. And if you're not a physically fit person, if you don't want to go to the gym, just go outside and walk.
Yes. I mean, I'm literally a fitness coach, so I will recommend you to do any physical activity at least once a day. Even on the time, physical activity is as simple as you just trying to reach as low as you can for your toes. Sure. Like it is just something like that. It's bending over 10 times and then raising back up in a slow manner. That's still physical fitness. There's a lot of different movements you can do to improve your physical health. And not only that, you're also training your brain to do new things and also learn how to navigate through your body, which if you can control your body fully, everything else becomes second nature, and it becomes easier for you to just navigate through life because you're not worrying about going up and down these stairs. You're not worried about falling and not being able to catch yourself properly and not hurting yourself, So if you are physically moving, you just start to feel a lot lighter. You start to feel a lot more energetic naturally. Like there's a bunch of benefits that just help with your mental and physical life through the day to day.
Yeah.
Just by moving.
Yeah. And it's all a journey. Like, and I want people who are struggling with any mental health issues to remember, like, it's not a matter of going from 0 to 10 in physical fitness or mental health awareness. Like, as long as you're progressing,
for sure,
and over the long run, like you're gonna have days where you're gonna fall back a little bit. But if you are taking steps forward consistently, even when you take steps backwards, just remember you are on a positive journey. You are going forward. Be kind to yourself.
For sure. And if you can sync it up the right way, like let's say you are being physically active, and physical activity is something as simple as like, let's say you have zero physical experience. Maybe you don't live in a walkable city and you aren't able to move or are accessible to a gym. Maybe you don't move at all. Maybe you just walk to your kitchen and walk back to your room, like whatever it is.
Sure.
Go outside, walk to the end of your street, walk back to the end of the other street, come back to your place, and you're there. Mm-hmm. That's physical activity right there. And that's maybe more than you've ever done, period. Who knows? Maybe that's more than you've done in a while.
Yeah.
Just give that a try and then slowly add more and more, and then you'll start to feel things. It'll give you like a 10% boost in how you're feeling naturally.
Yeah.
So give that a shot. There's different things you can do to help navigate mental health.
Yeah.
And men, we need to not be scared to talk about our feelings and seek help, because that has been the biggest problem for centuries.
One last thing, because I'm a big believer in this, is to help other people.
Yes.
Like when you are down, if you put someone else's, and don't put someone else's needs ahead of yours to the point of where you're ignoring yourself and you're ignoring your needs. But if you see someone else in need and you go out of your way to help them, it will lift you up.
1,000%.
I guarantee you. They'll be grateful, but you'll also just feel this sense of fulfillment.
Yeah. I mean, I like helping people out. It makes me feel better to help somebody. It makes me feel better when I see somebody struggling with their car and I take like maybe a couple more minutes to help them. The other day, there was a lady who needed her car pushed out from the driveway to the street, and I helped her push it just as I was parking. I was like, do you need help? And I just did it, and it was great. She didn't ask me. She didn't do anything, and I helped her with it. But just things like that, you're creating a different kind of energy in the world naturally. If you do stuff like that, just help out anybody who needs it, even if it takes like 2 minutes of your day.
Yeah. I think the takeaway here is to focus on our mental health by being kind to ourselves first and foremost, and being kind to other people as well. And if we can just start with that as the base, like finding a way to love ourselves, to be kind to ourselves, and to be kind to other people, it's the start.
I agree. Also, this whole time while I was speaking, I noticed my tone was like super high. I'm not heated. Like, that's just my natural voice at times, and it can sound very intense. Imagine that being in your mind, you know?
Yeah.
So you can only imagine how I was raised by myself, through my mind, through my lens. But also talking to yourself in a gentle manner.
Yes.
I've talked to myself a lot more gentle. I've learned how to, but sometimes I catch myself. And when I catch myself like I just did, I like to acknowledge it because I like to let people in the room know that I'm actually not heated or angry or anything. I just have a pretty intense tone sometimes.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of us do, but we need to make sure we're not being intense with ourselves unless we're intensely supportive of ourselves.
For sure.
So love yourself, support yourself, find the ways to do that on a daily basis.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for making my mental health a little bit worse today.
That's my goal every single day.
I'm joking. No, you do nothing but uplift my mental health every single time I see you, Daniel.
Likewise. Well, thank you for joining us today. Please give us a like, a comment, a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Love y'all.